Look, I can't help think that now might be a good time for a little fire and ice. Please,
No,
there's
never a good time for fire and ice.
What happens when you mix fire and ice?
Warm water, baby.
It's bubbling, baby. Warm water. Warm water.
Laggy internet is going to be the death of me. Hello, everybody. It is Mike Tipton, Brandon the Iceman Cohen. Together, we are Fire and Ice. It's Saturday afternoon, so you know we are live over here at Union Draft House. This time, we are at 12040 Tiera, Este in the far east side of El Paso. They've got a whole bunch of specials today as well. We're going to talk about those a little bit later on. Brandon, I'm looking forward to the bottomless wings. That's going to be absolutely amazing. We've got Andrew Polk hanging out with us as well. We got David Halpern helping us make us sound good, make us look good, all the little things like that David does to help us out. And, of course, we've got some football and a bunch of other stuff, Brandon, that we're going to be talking about later on today. I wanted to start off with them Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah.
Make it into the playoffs. We're looking good. We're not as hot as we should be. We squeaked out a win against the Detroit Lions, but you know what? We handled business against the Commies, and that's all we can ask for. What are your thoughts for the Dallas Cowboys heading into this playoff game against the Green Bay Packers in Dallas tomorrow?
Well, first of all, that win against the Commies, as you call them, was a big one because those are games that in the past you've seen them lose. When everything was on the line, they took care of business. They won convincingly, and that gives them momentum and confidence going into this week. Now, the part that everybody can be just a little concerned about is a hot Green Bay Packers team with a quarterback that has 32 touchdown passes in Jordan Love, second in the league only to Dak Prescott, a quarterback that's played much better the last 4 or 5 games, and not to mention the fact that, oh, by the way, Green Bay has been Dallas's kryptonite the last several times they faced them in the postseason. Granted, that was with a different quarterback. Aaron Jones has had his way with the Cowboys. He's been playing. He led the league in rushing, I think, 3 of the last 4 weeks. So if you look at all those things, should I be concerned? Look, yes, but the bottom line is if Dallas is as good as we think they are and they look like they, may be better than they have been in years, then they should take care of business. But am I a little scared? Yeah, absolutely.
So whenever it comes to the Dallas Cowboys, you know that I'm already a little scared. They're a team. They're so bipolar. It's crazy to think of what it is. But the one thing that I am excited about, if I am a Dallas Cowboys fan, is the fact that we do have the number 2 seed. We were able to get some home field advantage. We would need a little bit of help in order to maintain home field advantage. So we would need someone to beat San Francisco in the next round in order for us to maintain. And then obviously the Dallas Cowboys would need to win that game. But I'm looking at everything that you said right there, right? And I think the biggest thing that concerns me if I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan isn't necessarily Jordan Love, even though he has had a spectacular year, and it looks like Green Bay is going to have another 15 years of a great quarterback. But it's the run game.
Sure.
Dallas hasn't been able to really stop much runs, and as we saw even early on in that Washington game, Washington was able to move the ball on them on 3rd and short, 4th and short a whole bunch of times, and that's with, not a great running back. Yeah. Green Bay's got Aaron Jones, who was hurt this year, so only finished with a little under 700 yards, but he missed 6 games this year. That's part of the reason as to why, right? Like you said, leading the league in rushing 3 of the last 4 weeks. Someone that is just an absolute workhorse. And then let's not forget about the other guy that shares the backfield with him, and A.J. Dillon. Mm-hmm. A.J. Dillon is an absolute unit.
Yes, he is.
And that's the thing that I would be terrified with if I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan, which, I am reluctantly against my will, Dallas Cowboys fan. I look at this team, and I hate the fact that they have that bad of a time stopping the run. And whenever we talk about a team stopping the run, that's what wins you games in the NFL. Defense wins championships, right? We saw the Dallas Cowboys have one of the best defenses early on this year. Yeah. That's because they played a bunch of cupcakes.
Yes.
They got slapped in the mouth by Detroit. They got slapped in the mouth the first time they met in Philadelphia. They got slapped around the entire time against San Francisco. Those are teams that you could potentially run into here in the playoffs.
Sure.
In the next round, if Dallas makes it to the next round, they more than likely get Detroit or they get the Rams.
Sure.
And that's not a good look if you're the Dallas Cowboys. I guess there is an outside chance they get either Philadelphia or Tampa Bay. But either way, the only team that you would feel comfortable there facing would be Tampa Bay.
I here's the thing at this point. I mean, yes, their defense definitely started very, very strong, where the first 5 or 6 weeks they were the best defensive team in the NFL. Unfortunately, the last several weeks we have seen a lot of vulnerabilities that you don't want to see going into the postseason. And the number one thing, though, that I think the weakest aspect of it has been slowing down the run. And I mean, we remember last time Aaron Jones was at AT&T Stadium a few seasons ago where he went nuts and he waved bye-bye to them and had 2-3 touchdowns easily, 150 on the ground. It was a great game. I'd have to look at the exact stats, but yes, I mean, those are all things to be concerned about. I just feel that though they have won some big games this year and we know how great they've been at home. So I certainly feel that if you are fearful, which we know we're a little bit scared because it's the playoffs and it's the friggin' Cowboys and they've completely goofed the last God knows how many years. But with that being said, surely the silver lining is 8-0 at home this year, won 16 in a row at home. Haven't been 8-0 at home, it's like the 80s, I think. Even the Super Bowl years did go 8-0 at home. They've been a different team at home. Yes, that Detroit game, they eked it out, maybe better lucky than good. But I'm confident that these first – beg your pardon?
It was the right call.
It was the right call.
Yeah.
It was right. I am confident though, and I feel good about these next couple weeks because honestly, except for San Francisco in the NFC, I don't see anybody that's good enough than they are, or that they couldn't beat. To be honest with you.
Again, Detroit. I think Detroit would be the one. Also, the matchup with the Rams. I don't think they match up with the Rams very well.
They beat the Rams this year, right?
Yeah, but it was without a Stafford.
Yeah.
It was with the Rams having a bunch of injuries as well. Yeah. Puka Nacua, as we've seen, has come up.
Amazing.
And it just seems like they've got a plethora of riches, and they're hot at the right time. And we know how important it is for a team to be hot in the playoffs as we get into the playoffs and going through everything like that. The one thing that I really want to see from Dallas, again, playoff football, there's a different mentality to it, right? You got to be able to run the ball.
Absolutely.
The Cowboys haven't really done that all that well this year. Tony Pollard barely got over 1,000 yards in the game against Washington. So he goes 17 games. He was healthy all season.
Yeah, he was.
17 games to get just over 1,000 yards. He's averaging just over 60 yards a game.
Not great.
That's not going to cut it in the playoffs.
No, and unfortunately, their worst fear happened. It's that they missed Zeke. That didn't turn out to be a wise move on their part. It looked like it was, but Zeke picked it up for New England the last few games. And now
I was hoping that Zeke would make New England release him and just sign a playoff contract with the Cowboys.
It would have been nice because everybody. Last year Pollard was great, but he was great in a limited role, and that's what everybody needs to remember. There's a difference between the workhorse of being great and being a third down back, second down back, not when you don't have to always carry that biggest workload. So, which makes me certainly, and I know I don't want to look ahead that far yet, but I'm going to anyways, say Cowboys need to maybe go after a Derrick Henry in the offseason to beef up that running game, because if you want to be great, bottom line is old school football still is what makes you great. Defense and running the ball.
God, could you imagine the Cowboys with Derrick Henry?
I thought about that. I'm like, you guys, Henry has to me maybe three good years left.
It's like the wettest of dreams.
It is, because you got to go after a guy like Derrick Henry. And don't think he doesn't want to go to the Cowboys. He wants a ring.
Andrew Polk just rolling his eyes at us right now with everything that we were talking about. But hey,
Andrew. He's our buddy.
It works. It works.
I mean, we're not even through the playoffs. Y'all are talking the draft, but I guess that's fine.
Wow, this guy. We weren't talking the draft. We were talking free agency, which happened slightly before.
Ever so slightly
before the draft. Okay, so looking at the Dallas Cowboys, look at the rest of the teams in the playoffs. Obviously, to me, Baltimore and San Francisco, they look like they're on a collision course to make it to the Super Bowl, and it looks like it's going to be an ugly road to get all the way through there. Other than San Francisco and Baltimore, who do we got our eyes on as a team that could potentially make it all the way?
Well, clearly, Cleveland is that team where I could see them making a heck of a run in the AFC. I mean, defensively, they are as good as anybody. And, of course, they have the tools. They've been very impressive. Joe Flacco is on a ridiculous momentum swing right now. 4-1 as their quarterback. They have just been red hot. And you consider, if I would have told you they lose Watson, they lose Chubb, and they'd still be this good, and the only reason they're on the road is because Houston won the South. But with that being said, clearly in the AFC, I'm still looking after Cleveland. And, of course, I'm not counting out Kansas City just yet. I mean, Kansas City, to me, it's going to be a challenging game, but considering the crappy, cold, horrible weather, I'm surely worried about that if you're, a Dolphins fan. But with that being said, those are a couple teams that I'm looking at in the AFC. NFC, Obviously I look at the Cowboys as being the one team that can hopefully finally get their crap together and take care of business. Other than that, though, I just don't see another solid. I think Philadelphia has just completely been demoralized the way they played the last month, which I don't think anybody saw that coming. Other than the Cowboys and the NFC, I don't think there's anybody that would just surprise me by going on a Super Bowl run.
13 weeks and counting of me saying that the Eagles are the most overrated 5-1 team in the history of 5-1 teams, and it seems like it's coming true. But then also, what would happen more than likely because of me just being me, the Eagles are going to go on and win the damn Super Bowl.
Yeah,
like it feels like
that's the
more
thing. They're capable of it.
Yeah,
they're capable. They're still the Eagles, right? I mean, they have most of the pieces from last year.
Whenever we talk about the Philadelphia Eagles, though, and I want to get your opinion on some of the stuff that's happening here, is we've seen some issues with A.J. Brown.
Mm-hmm.
And Jalen Hurts, where it seems that they're, a little bit at a stalemate. Now, how much of this is actually true? How much of this is just being blown out of proportion? We don't know, right? But it seems to be that A.J. Brown is not happy in Philadelphia. He has gone as far as saying on an Instagram story that was since deleted that if there's more interceptions, he's going to wind up playing with number 4 next year. We know who number 4 is. If you're an Eagles fan, you don't want him in Dallas. But it seems that there's a little bit of turmoil in the Philadelphia Eagles as far as A.J. Brown goes. And they need him, and they need to feed him and feature him if they want a chance to actually win the damn Super Bowl.
Yeah, and the fact that he's out, that's a huge blow for the Eagles. And you know what?
Oh, and he also deleted all of the Eagles' references to him on all his social medias.
Yeah, absolutely. And
that's
again, those are two bad looks. That's a really bad look. But I mean, that's a game where watch out for Tampa Bay. I mean, not only has Mayfield had a good year with them, does he have a lot of weapons, but Tampa Bay has won some good games this year, and they're at home. They won the division. Mayfield's having some, darn good football he's playing with the Bucs. So I feel that that's a game that I could easily see Tampa Bay winning.
If not for the resurgence and reappearance of the elite Joe Flacco, I feel like Baker Mayfield would have been the guy in the lead to win the comeback player of the year. Yeah. He's had a phenomenal year so far, over 3,800 yards, over 25 touchdowns as well. He's limited the interceptions. They've got a team that a lot of people forget. This is a team that won the Super Bowl 2 years ago,
right?
Or 3 years ago. This isn't a team that's absolute, hot dog shit or anything like that. They're a really damn good team, and there's a bunch of core players there. Whenever you got a wide receiver like Mike Evans, like Chris Godwin, and you've got a decent running game there, all you need is a quarterback like a Baker Mayfield who can control the game, who does make smart decisions.
Yep.
And the thing that kind of makes Baker Mayfield a little bit of a unicorn in all this is the dude is good.
Yes, he is.
I'll never understand how last year happened.
Yeah.
How last year happened with Baker Mayfield, where he bounces around from Cleveland, then goes to Carolina, and then goes and plays in L.A. as well, and it just rises.
Did all right with the Rams.
Going to the Rams like 2 or 3 days before the damn game starts.
Yeah.
Winning the game with them on a comeback drive, it's just amazing. We've seen here.
And one thing I will say is that you think about this particular situation, and I mean this is an ideal fit for him. Not only that, but keep in mind they have the same coaching staff. Okay, they've always had they went from the coaching staff they kept within the organization, promoting their defensive coordinator to their new head coach. And of course, you hit the nail on the head. A lot of those pieces are still there. I mean, if you have that, that's a foundation for a winning team.
How do we feel about Detroit?
I love Detroit. I love Detroit because I love what they have to offer. I think, my grandpa used to say when I asked him, we called him Grandpa Hershey. I said, Hershey, how you doing? He'd tell me, I'm on a gravy train. Detroit's on a gravy train because it's like they almost have nothing to lose at this point. I mean, they won their division. They're hosting a playoff game. They have what could be the game of the week in Super Wildcard against Stafford and the Rams. And long story short, Detroit, I mean, imagine if they end up representing the NFC in the Super Bowl. The thing is, they're good enough to do it. They really are.
And that's the thing, right? Like, it's crazy to think of this about the Detroit Lions because we all know the terrible history, right?
Yeah.
They're hosting their first home playoff game since 1993.
That's
right?
Crazy.
They haven't won a playoff game since 1992.
Yeah.
They're one of, if not the oldest NFL team. Well, actually, the Cardinals are the oldest NFL team, but they're one of the oldest NFL teams in the history of the damn league.
To not have a Super Bowl.
And they haven't won a Super Bowl. They haven't
They
even
been to
made
one. They haven't
a
been
Super Bowl.
Close,
It's been nothing but futility since basically 1957, whenever they won their last NFL championship.
Yeah.
None of us were born then, except for maybe Andrew, who's the
Andrew,
oldest.
He's a little older.
The oldest
He's
person
the elder statesman here
of this entire core of people that we have. But whenever I look at the Detroit Lions, I look at what they have with Dan Campbell, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people were making fun of that. A lot of people, the press conference, that's your first impression with stuff. We're going to bite kneecaps. We're going to be this. We're going to be that. A lot of those pundits out there on the ESPNs, on the Fox Sports and all that were questioning what type of hire was this, because you can't have a rah-rah as a coach in the NFL. I beg to differ. I think Pete Carroll had himself a hell of a run. We'll talk about that coming up in a little bit. But whenever we look at that, this is a team that looks like they would run through a damn brick wall for that man and Dan Campbell.
No doubt.
And you can tell he wears his heart on the sleeve. He cares about that team. Andrew, your wife Sarah, she is a Lions fan. You're a Packers fan. What's it like for you guys? Like, especially now knowing that maybe the Packers aren't going to be the cream of the crop anymore. Maybe it's Detroit's division, which is that feels like sacrilege.
Yeah, it's a weird thing to understand there. And I'm just gonna say, even though the notables aren't, we're not talking about peyote involved with the Packers anymore. I think I'm just gonna go cold turkey on it for a minute here. So let's just say
ayahuasca.
Close enough, honestly. you tell me to squint at it from a distance and it makes a difference. But in any case, point is that we don't talk a whole lot of football, and my wife she tried to quit the Lions for years actually, and just couldn't quit them. I can't quit you. So now it's kind of paying off, I guess. But I just hope, let's just say, I was wanting to say it earlier, that the reason I know the phrase snatch defeat from the jaws of victory is because of the Dallas Cowboys, but also I kind of feel like the Lions are, oh gosh, I mean, sure, everything, if you want to call everything gravy, it's a great attitude, but it just feels like we're setting up for a mega heartbreak if we don't get it right.
I don't think that's the case. I think anything the Lions do, Lions fans are happy with.
Come on,
I feel like they'd be like UTEP fans. You just make it to the dance. It doesn't care where the dance is, right? Just get there.
You won the division. That's a great feat for them, because
they're good for another 50 years.
Yeah, I mean, you win the division. Yeah, you're good. You're good for the end of time. I mean, I honestly feel that, look, you are playing with house money in a way because you're the Lions. But with that being said, the expectations of the fans should be definitely raised higher because of the talent they have, because of their coaching staff, because of the good teams they defeated this year, and because they are hosting a playoff game at Ford Field. So I do feel that, that honestly, I'm going to say it, you call me sugar, no, that's fine. I've been called worse. If Detroit were to, make it to the NFC title game, I wouldn't be surprised, because they do have a lot of talent and they've played some great games this year.
Again, it just feels wrong to say it because it's the Detroit
because they've
Lions.
Been shit for so long, right? They've been garbage.
I can't even say that they've been shit. Like they're shit, and there's 50 more feet of it, and then there's the Lions.
They've been that dismal NFL franchise that. Remember that year didn't they go like 0-16 that one year, and they lost. That was like the worst team in NFL history. They lost that last game to the Packers. And
at least they never had the dumpster fire parade.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, of course, they're not the only
team
team that's gone 0-16. We've had the Browns that have also gone 0-16. But it just feels like even whenever the Browns went 0-16, it wasn't like the level of futility that we've seen from Detroit, right? Like Detroit's had a bunch of futility. At least during the 80s, the Browns were, a halfway decent team. And then I always kind of I guess talk myself into thinking that the Browns would have been really good if they had stayed in Cleveland.
Yeah.
If the Ravens had stayed in Cleveland, the Browns would have been two-time Super Bowl champions.
That would have been the Browns.
Right. So I think of it like that. Like the Browns weren't nearly as bad as what the Detroit Lions are.
Sure. No, I don't disagree.
It's a history of that.
It's been a bad organization, and a poorly run organization. And people, sometimes forget that an organization is only good as their front office. And you look at teams that are crap consistently, it's because they make bad moves. And you look at, the New Englands, the Kansas Cities versus the Lions, the Bears, I'll go on and oh my. But the point is that if you're a shit team, there's a reason for it. It's not just, we have bad players. We have bad management. We have a bad GM. We have bad coaching. It starts from the ground up, man. It's really how to run any organization, right?
I did bad management on my end as well. I forgot to bring in Dave here. So, Dave, if you wouldn't mind switching with Andrew for a quick second. I wanted to talk to Dave about how he's feeling, right? Because we spoke about the Philadelphia Eagles, all the turmoil they have with the Philadelphia Eagles.
Don't forget about bad sports facilities. Remember with that debate we had about what kind of turf different teams should be playing on?
There we go. Okay, so it feels like Dave came in hot now. Like he's got a bunch of topics he wants to talk about. But before we get to the terrible facilities and everything like that, let's talk a little bit about your Philadelphia Eagles. How are you feeling about them? Because they've been, for lack of a better term, just absolute dog shit.
Well, sleep deprivation and not always getting to play their games at home. Well, I take that back because even at home they were sleep deprived. How about that woman that TV focused on? What in the world is going on?
Yeah. Yes, what the hell are you doing is exactly what you
I
said.
hate to say it, but that is a very typical Philadelphia fan.
Okay, so I'm glad that I've got you here as I talk about the Philadelphia fans. I'm glad that I got Brandon here because you can represent the city of Chicago in this one. Did you see what happened yesterday with the Chicago Bulls inducting Jerry Krause into their Ring of Honor? Chicago Bulls fans booing the late Jerry Krause's wife as she is up there accepting the honor. I get it. Like there's going to be some animosity there. But the man brought you to 6 championships.
Yeah, that's pathetic. That's Chicago. I will say, look, I love Chicago. It's my second home. Some of the greatest sports fans in the world, but that's classless. I mean, here's what happened. Unfortunately, the last the show that came out in 2020. About the Chicago Bulls was a great show during the COVID era. And
The Last Dance,
yeah. And it ultimately, to me, it also painted a negative picture of Jerry Krause, and that's a problem. But look, he was the villain because he dismantled that great Bulls team. Okay, the team that could have been, it was the best team, obviously, in NBA history, arguably, definitely, right? But I mean, that's just, you can't do that. You can't do that considering what he did for your organization for so many years. He was the one responsible for bringing in so much talent. And I just don't ever see that being a smart move on the fans' part. And I don't think it's acceptable. I really don't.
Yeah, and that was one of the things that I was wondering about as well whenever it came down to the Chicago Bulls with everything that was going on here. And Dave knows, as someone who's a Philadelphia Eagles fan, we've seen that team boo Santa Claus, of all people. Now we've got this where you got a guy who was a multiple-time champion. You're booing him, and it just to me, it just doesn't look like a good look. I'm kind of disappointed in it because, like, the Chicago Bulls are a team of my youth, right? Sure. Like, me being born on Jordan's birthday, always having that little bit of love for Michael Jordan, always, having that little soft spot for the Chicago Bulls. Now, obviously, I'm a San Antonio Spurs fan, and I'm loving what I'm seeing out of Victor Wembanyama right now. But I look at what happened yesterday in Chicago, and Stacey King, longtime Chicago Bulls PA guy, or not PA guy, color commentator, former Chicago Bulls player, was with that team for a very long time. Even he was disgusted with that type of action, too, because you could see this, octogenarian woman crying who lost her husband while he's getting, inducted into something that's pretty amazing, being booed by 20,000 people, which to me is just absolute classless. Philadelphia fans always held that mantle of being, the people that booed Santa Claus, the people that did this and that and all the other stuff. But Chicago, it seems like they take the crown now, and they are. It's kind of deplorable as sports fans. Like, you don't ever want to see that as sports fans. But okay, so we are over here live at Union Draft House 7. I was about to give the wrong address.
That's okay.
12040
Tiera, Este, in the far east side of El Paso, literally minutes away from where I live as well. We have Vanessa, who is our wonderful waitress here. She's going to let us know, Brandon, about some of the specials that we have going on over here, because the specials have changed at Union Draft House. So, Vanessa, if you can, please let us know what's going on here.
Okay. Hi, first of all, nice to be here with you guys. So, yes, we do have a brand new special on food. It's our bottomless wings. So basically for $15.99, you can get unlimited bone-in wings here at Union Draft House between noon and 6 p.m. every single Saturday.
Oh, my gosh.
We do have our $4 ciders and sours, our $4 seltzer cans, and our $4 Hornitos as well. And, of course, we're showing all of our playoff games here. So today we have our Texans versus Browns at 2:30 p.m. and Chiefs versus Dolphins at 6 p.m. today.
So
you
there you
had
go.
me at wings.
Yeah, Vanessa, that's all you had to say was just wings.
That's a great shtick. I love it.
Oh, okay, yes. Yeah, the wings, everybody, it's a brand new thing we have here, but every time I mention it, everyone just wants that right away. So I'm like,
He loves wings.
I mean, I'm a big fat guy, so of course I do. All right, Vanessa. So, what is your favorite flavor? Because we're gonna order some wings a little bit later. What is your favorite flavor?
Mine is honey hot.
Honey
I
hot.
like honey.
You
So
can't
we
go
know
wrong.
I like
we're
honey
going to
hot.
go with the honey hot. Vanessa, thank you so much for letting us know the specials. If you don't mind leaving that piece of paper for me, so that way I can read it off a little bit later as
Yeah, of
well.
course.
But thank you so much, everyone. Come on out here to Union Draft House 12040 Sun. Or wow, Tiera, Este. I'm so used to the other one. I drive to the west side way too many times. 12040 Tiera, Este in the far east side of El Paso. Ask for Vanessa. Always hook her up with an amazing tip. Vanessa, thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Vanessa.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay,
appreciate
so there we go, Brandon. I'm looking forward to those bottomless wings. I know you are looking forward to that stuff as well. You like making fun of me for being a big fat guy, but yeah, it's all good, right? We got the playoff games going on.
playoffs.
The Texans at home rather against the Cleveland Browns. This seems like it's going to be an amazing game.
Mhm.
I am all about everything that we could potentially get out of this game simply because whenever you look at the Cleveland Browns, it's an overwhelming defense. But then you look at all the offensive weapons the Houston Texans have, from that rookie quarterback in C.J. Stroud, who once again, I'll reiterate this. I said it last week. I'm going to say it again today. Until he got the concussion, was in the conversation for not just being the rookie of the year, but for being the MVP. Think about the type of performance you have to have as a rookie to be in that conversation. Now we got the Cleveland Browns. It looked like whenever Deshaun Watson went down, this team was going to go down with it because they had Donovan Peoples-Jones. They had a bunch of other quarterbacks. Joe Flacco comes in, their fourth quarterback. Joe Flacco, after being retired, sitting at home on the couch, loses his first game, and you think to yourself, wow, this is going to be it for the Browns.
Right.
Then goes on and pulls off a 5-game winning streak, getting them into the playoffs. They could have been the number one seed in the playoffs if not for the team in their division, the Baltimore Ravens.
Oh, yeah.
And they've
absolutely.
beaten the Ravens this year. They've beat the Ravens bad
Mhm.
this year.
Yeah.
So what is it that you see whenever you look at the Cleveland Browns? And it's weird to say this again. We were talking about Detroit, how weird it is to say Detroit's really good. It's also equally weird to think that a team that was 0-16 6 years ago is now looked at as a dark horse for the Super Bowl.
Well, their defense has just been unbelievable. And, oh, by the way, a couple weeks ago, they happened to go into Houston and beat the Texans in a shootout 36-22. So that defense rattled Stroud. They actually injured him, if memory serves.
Oh, that's
Remember
right.
that? He had
Yeah.
to go out with an injury. Look, here's the bottom line. I mean, I think Stroud's unbelievable. To me, he's had one of the best rookie seasons that you'll ever see. Carolina's kicking themselves in the ass for not drafting him. Bad move. Very, very, very bad move. But, hey, it is what it is. You know, we don't have a silver, a gypsy ball in front of us, right? Or else we'd all be millionaires. But, I mean, look, long story short here, I love Cleveland. I love Cleveland. I think Cleveland is – I will not be surprised to see a Cleveland-Baltimore AFC title game. And, I mean, I think Cleveland's more than a dark horse. I really do. I say that because they have been so impressive. They've just, especially down the stretch, and that, the X factor for them, bottom line, is going to be Joe Flacco. And obviously their midseason reacquisition of Hunt was big on the ground because he's that brawler at the goal line. Ford has done a great job in lieu of Chubb. And I mean, this is a situation where if you look at this Cleveland Browns team, to me, I think this team matches up rather well against the other teams that are still left here, obviously in the AFC, including Baltimore. I mean, they can get to Jackson, and they could put pressure on him. So I really would not be surprised to see the Browns, believe it or not, represent the AFC in the Super Bowl, but clearly still the best team in the AFC to me is Baltimore. But watch out for Cleveland.
And that's the thing too, right? Like Cleveland is one of those scary teams because, like I said, you have a geriatric. It's weird saying that because I'm older than him, but a geriatric Joe Flacco going in there and just wrecking house. And it looks like just a laid back,
great story.
No pressure on him whatsoever. Joe Flacco.
I mean, he's the Super Bowl MVP.
To me, I've never understood. I've never understood the debate on is Joe Flacco elite. The dude's always been a great quarterback, right?
I mean, he's a leader.
And then you look at the offensive weapons that they have over
Tremendous.
in Cleveland. You've got Amari Cooper.
Cooper's been great.
You've got David Njoku, who until recent was looked at as a bust because he was never used as the weapon that he is. You've got Jerome Ford. You've got an amazing defense with Myles Garrett and all that.
Yeah.
And then you look at what's happening on the other side of that coin with the Houston Texans. Nico Collins, a rookie wide receiver. I wish.
Tank Dell.
I really would like if Tank Dell was healthy, right? If he hadn't torn that ACL, what this matchup would have looked like.
And Singletary's been good on the ground in lieu of Pierce, because Pierce hasn't been that great.
It's insane to think that teams gave that Buffalo, of all the teams that needs a running game, that Buffalo gave up on Devin Singletary and
He's
let
been
him
good.
go over
Yeah.
to Houston.
And that one man's, what's the expression? One man's garbage is another man's treasure, right?
There you go.
Well, you want to get rid of somebody like that. And sometimes you just need to go under a certain type of coaching staff or a different organization to flourish. And he was never a bad running back anyways.
I'm going to cut that up, and I'm going to tag him, and I'm just going to put where we're talking about Devin Singletary. You're saying one man's garbage.
Yeah, he'll love me for that. He'll really love me for that. And I was thinking, well, I mean, could I phrase this better? I don't know. But it's true, though, man. I mean, someone wants to get rid of you, and they want to throw you out, and then all of a sudden you just blow it up, and he could be the starting running back next year in Houston.
So one of the things that's been interesting with just today, right? Like this has been an interesting week as far as sports goes. We've seen Victor Wembanyama get a triple-double in less than 20 minutes for the San Antonio Spurs. We watched Pete Carroll retire or get basically unceremoniously kicked out of Seattle, and then he gets Farrah Fawcetted whenever Nick Saban decides that he wants to retire. We figure that's enough news for the week, and then we get Bill Belichick leaving the New England Patriots. We're going to talk about that stuff coming up here in just a second. And then today, the thing that we get first thing in the morning, the NFL has moved Buffalo versus Pittsburgh because of the 3 feet of snow that are currently being blasted upon the Buffalo area. I asked Andrew to look up because I was thinking about this. Are we going to have 2 Monday night games?
We are.
We are going to have 2
We
Monday
are gonna
night
have
games.
One's a little earlier, right, though, Andrew?
Yeah, one's going to be happening at the Steelers versus Bills. Going to be happening at 4:30 p.m. Eastern time, so 2:30 here Mountain. And then the Eagles versus the Bucks going to be 8:15 p.m. Eastern time, so 6:15 here. So they might run into each other a little bit. We'll see how it goes.
If they run into each other, then that's overtime, and I don't think the NFL will allow that to happen. The NFL is not going to cut out of one end like playoff game in overtime to start the other game there. But it just feels weird, right? Like I get it. Most of us, hopefully all of us, are off on Monday due to the holiday,
That's
Martin
true.
Luther King. So I get it, but I felt like they might move at least that second game, that night game, replace them, right? Like flip-flop them. That would probably be the better way of doing this.
Yeah, and also, worth mentioning that Kansas City game, they were talking about maybe postponing it because of the ridiculous temperatures. We're talking 30 below wind chill. And I mean, I don't know. All I can say,
weather.
well, yeah, but it's also dangerous weather. I mean, all I can say is this, okay? I've been in a game like that. Bears-Packers Monday Night Football, December of 2008, and 3 degrees at kickoff, 20 below wind chill, and it was asinine, ridiculous. I couldn't believe the game went into overtime too, which was pathetic because then I had to stay there longer. The only warm place, the only heated place was the restroom. So I watched the whole third quarter in the John. I listened to the game because I didn't want to be outside. And then the Sprite I had froze at halftime. The mustard and ketchup packets were frozen. Let me tell you something. You couldn't pay me enough. You could give me a 10th row seat, 50-yard line, and tell me, hey, you're going to go for free. I'd say no. I'd say no.
What about a first row seat?
No. Dude, it's bad.
Well, what if we got you on the sideline?
Okay, then maybe.
There we go. We found
seriously,
it. We found the line of demarcation.
Here's the thing, dude. You have no idea how much of a negative effect that takes on the body to be in that kind. Well, cold weather. You lived in cold climate, but being outside that long in the 4 hours? Are you crazy?
And that's
dangerous.
That's what I was going to say, right? Like maybe I'm the wrong one to talk to.
You are a little
about
fluffy.
this, right?
You are a little fluffy.
Wow.
There's
a bunch. There's bigger offensive linemen than me.
But here's the thing, dude. They're even saying cover all body parts, including your face. And I'm like, dude, how are you supposed to even watch a freaking game with everything covered?
They have a helmet covering their face.
I'm talking about the fans, man. But here's my solution. Get rid of all these stupid outdoor stadiums.
No.
Give everybody a retractable dome.
You're
yes,
drunk.
I'm not.
You are drunk.
Football should be played in perfect conditions.
Listen,
Football should be played in perfect conditions. I never thought that I would wind up being the get off my lawn guy. What the hell is wrong with
All
you?
I'm saying is that you can't have a game, and it's so cold. It's too cold, man.
All I'm
and this
saying is
Buffalo
that
game, this is treacherous.
all I'm saying is that every franchise owner just started involuntary salivating at the thought of we all get new stadiums. Oh God, yes.
but the stadiums you see built nowadays are those glass ones. But guess what? Guess what it means for revenue? Billions, because you attract Super Bowls. That's the key. Detroit's hosting the Super Bowl. Minneapolis, Chicago will eventually, because they're finally going to build a dome. Don't give me that bear weather shit. There's no such thing as bear weather.
So let's think about this. There have been 3 teams north of the I guess we could say north, like the northern teams that have hosted a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Detroit, Minnesota, and then the Giants did it with an outdoor as well.
Yeah.
Right. So I guess we could say Giants and Jets. We'll call
They
that
got
4
lucky
teams.
because they had
Right.
nice weather.
But I'll say this: if you build a brand new stadium in Green Bay with Lambeau Field,
That's what I was going to say.
well, you're
No, I mean,
you're like the history guy here.
I think
like
it's great. I mean, I hear you. Look, I'm just like one of these people that says that this
Brandon
is,
wants his football
this
in
is-
perfect weather.
well, it's nice. I mean,
Climate
it's
controlled.
nice, dude. It's 70 degrees is nice. Okay, look, you go to a game like that and you tell me how miserable you are and tell me that you don't think that these teams should build a dome or a retractable dome. That way you can still have your cake and eat it too. You want to freeze your tuchus off, open the dome. But if you're going to be in a playoff game, close the damn thing. I don't
Money
know.
bags, Brandon Cohn over here telling people how to spend their money.
I'm good at that. I'm good at that. You know?
Billion here, billion there. You start talking real money.
Yeah, just taxes, right? Just
Figured
raise
I-
the taxes or
figured I
whatever
would
the
bring
city
it up
is.
to you.
Yeah, 100%. And again, like the reason why I feel like I'm the wrong person to talk to this about is because I used to live in effing Alaska.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I
like
lived
to
in
me,
Chicago.
to me, this isn't negative 30 wind chill.
Yeah.
I made out with a polar bear. It's not that cold.
The day I moved to Alaska, it was negative 17 with the wind chill and negative 50.
I've been in 25 below zero in Chicago, and you know what? You and I know what real cold is. I mean, there is no such thing as, look, there is kind of cold in El Paso, but
No.
there is no such thing as real cold
No.
here in El Paso.
There's no cold in El
there's,
Paso.
I remember that one year it got down to 0, which was absolutely unheard of, right? That was 2011. But the point is that we don't have cold weather. I mean, we have kind of cold weather, but dude, you and I have seen cold weather. I mean, it's brutal.
But again,
It's brutal. You can keep it.
Moneybags Brandon Cohn wanting to have everyone spend their money.
I don't
So
know.
that way,
I mean, I'm just saying,
it's
you spend money to make money, though.
spend money to make
You want
money.
to do a Super Bowl, have a retractable dome. I mean,
And then we've seen all the issues with turf. Like,
yeah, they have grass then.
How are they going to have grass in one of those stadiums if they're up north and they don't get any sunlight?
Well,
If the
That's
most
a good
complicated
question.
thing in your
Grass.
stadium is
That's
how
what
you
I
deal with
think
the grass,
about
you're
it.
doing something wrong.
Yeah, I was about to say, right? Well, I don't know. I guess you got like a MetLife Stadium, that dumpster of that collection of ACLs and Achilles tendons from NFL players.
Yeah,
But like, there's a part of me, again, I sympathize with these players, man.
it's terrible.
I really do. Like the fans, not so much. I feel like if you're surrounded by a bunch of people, you could be a little bit warmer than maybe, right? Like, I don't know. Maybe running around in the field, you got the little, the jackets with the heaters in them and all that. Maybe, these players are babies, and that's maybe what I'm thinking, right? Because I think about like the Ice Bowl, the Dallas Cowboys, and the Green
And
Bay
previously,
Packers.
that was the coldest game in the NFL history, or was it the Cincinnati game? I think
It was a Cincinnati game.
But this is going to be colder, I think, isn't it?
No.
With 30 below wind
No,
chill?
because the Cincinnati game was negative 48 wind chill.
Bay. Are
Yeah.
you kidding me? That's like, you can't even be outside in those kind of
Listen, if there's not a
temperatures,
frostbite warning, it's not really that bad.
Yeah, I'm about to say, you could be outside.
But you don't want to be outside for more than 5 minutes, dude. You will get frostbite. You will get frostbite. Let's not kid ourselves. You and I have been and frozen our tuchuses off. And the bottom line is that if you're outside, I don't know if you've ever been in 25 below. If you have,
Yeah, I have.
So you know how horrible it is. And I say horrible, I mean horrible. Any skin that is exposed, okay, even this little, you put like that mask on, the snow mask,
Sure.
you got the gloves, the scarf, you got the hat, you got the warmers, right? And then this part of your head, you got to be able to see, right?
Goggles.
Okay, let's say I don't have goggles. Let's say I'm not going
Well, then you're
swimming.
not prepared.
Okay, thank you very much.
To
But the
me,
point is you're going to freeze this part of your body,
to me, there's no way in hell
right?
that any of these people that live in those areas that are going to these games are not fully prepared.
I beg to differ. You see those drunk schmucks not wearing shirts.
But they do that. They do that on purpose.
But they're idiots. I can't
and
can't
talking
figure
about
it out
commerce,
for the life of
imagine
me.
what that does for beer sales. You want to be warm? Got to go get the beer. Come on, you're all about the money bags
Beer,
now.
they're sneaking in flasks with friggin' alcohol
Sure,
and
that
booze
too.
and bourbon and all that crap.
Well, okay,
Beer.
so think about this. We put everyone in a dome. We miss the shirtless fat guys.
Well, I like the shirtless fat guys. There was that schmuck behind me with no shirt. He
That's
looked like
quote.
the rabbi, and he was going nuts. And I'm like, "How are you doing it, sir?" And he was tanked, of course, But anyway.
That's going to be the highlight of the show. I like shirtless fat guys.
That's a button quote right there.
you going to make a clip of that too?
100%. We're making Brandon look the best we could possibly make Brandon look. But okay, so let's talk about the action that's going to happen on the field, right? Because we know that Kansas City is going to be below freezing, negative 30 degrees. They're hosting the Miami Dolphins, which have never done well in cold weather.
Yeah.
They're in Miami. It's always perfect, right?
Yeah.
The Dolphins have a phenomenal run game.
Yes, they do.
Achane is averaging 8 yards a carry this year. He missed a ton of time because he was on the IR due to a knee injury. He's back now. They have Tyreek Hill, who's looking to get some revenge against a team that won a Super Bowl without him. Let's not forget this. The Kansas City Chiefs are the defending Super Bowl champions. And then you got Kansas City, who hasn't seemed like they've been right all year long. They somehow wind up with a home game this time. What's our expectation here? Because I don't know what to expect out of Kansas City now.
I mean, I think Kansas City is going to win. I think the cold temperature is ultimately going to have a real negative impact on the warm weather team and the Dolphins. And you know, I'm not even going to talk about the elephant in the room, and I'm not even talking about myself here, but I'm talking about, you know, the fact that this is on Peacock. And it's like a lot of people have been bitching and moaning because it's not on regular TV. And I'll be the first to say that I am not, you know, for it being on any sort of streaming. But you know,
have opened up a Pandora's box.
I'm just saying, man. I mean, I'm going to say right now, I like the Chiefs to win. Okay, I just don't think the Dolphins are going to do well in that kind of weather. But I am saying that I don't want to see all NFL games go streaming because that's going to piss a lot of people off. I don't like the idea. It's a terrible idea. Well, it is, but it isn't. For money wise, it's good for them.
I wish I had, and Destiny bought this for me for like the job that I have, you know, teaching, doing all that stuff. It's a little itty bitty violin. And you play it, and it gives you a sad little song, right? As far as, you know, it's only streaming on Peacock. Most people have already cut the damn cord when it comes to cable.
I have.
If you haven't, if you haven't,
it's a waste. It's a waste of money.
So that's what I'm saying. So you already have Peacock, right? You should, unless you haven't been watching Sunday night games.
Isn't it on NBC though?
Yeah, I guess if you're watching Hulu, right? So you're already paying for something through via another network. The thing that I was going to say about this, and I'm glad that you brought this up, and I'm sure Andrew's heard me talk about this before on the tipping point. I feel like eventually the NFL is going to go on an all like streamed product.
Like
they have
YouTube
the ability
kind of
to.
shtick?
But no, not even that. Just like an NFL only product that you have to buy. And eventually, I feel like that what they're going to do most importantly is put the Super Bowl behind a paywall. Because every single one of us are going to pay for that damn game.
Of course, that's
and
true.
once they you know break the seal on that, so to speak, then they're going to introduce, okay, well, you can get your own team with your own team's exclusive content with their broadcasters, so you don't have to listen to Troy Aikman.
We can't watch
or
Cowboys
anyone
games
else.
for gore anymore.
There we go.
Right.
That's the way that it's going to go.
Aren't they clever? Especially with all these streaming sites that you might as well just have streaming nowadays anyway.
But and that's what I was about to say. So think about it. Whenever you had your cable package, you were paying like what, 170, 180,
It got you too
maybe
expensive. It got too
maybe
expensive.
right now you've got, even if it's 10 different streaming packages at $10 each, you're still saving half of what it was that you were paying.
And you're getting great stuff. It's like at movie theaters and stuff.
So to me, like, one, you've got to be living under a rock if you haven't been able to get any of these apps. So I don't want to hear any of these geriatric Neanderthals saying that they can't get Peacock. Order the damn thing.
Sure, they can get it. They just don't want to buy it. But I guess you could also get a free trial, right?
Boom. There you go. So you get your free trial.
Watch the game for gore, and then you get rid of it a month later. What's the other game?
Both these games are on Peacock.
Oh, you're bullshitting me. I think the first game's on regular TV.
Andrew, can you look it up?
Game's on
I think both games are streaming on Peacock.
Game's on Peacock.
I think both games are streaming on Peacock.
The one, which day are we talking about?
Today.
Today?
We're just talking about, I'm saying it's just the Dolphins and Chiefs. He says both games.
I believe it's going to be both games. We'll let Andrew figure that one out for us here. But again.
What does it say? Well, I'm looking. NBC. It says NBC and Peacock.
Okay.
So it's NBC.
Okay.
Yes, correct.
Okay.
So the only one that's exclusively on Peacock.
Vanessa is bringing us beer number 46. 45 was Coors Light. Which one is this?
Vanessa, what's 46? Miller.
How
creative, Miller. How creative. I can't wait till he gets Michelob Ultra because he loves it, and I'll just drink it. Sorry.
No, I'm up.
There you go.
Okay, so all the domestics are right next to each other. That's not true, because I know last week because you said 42 was just a regular Shiner, which hurt my heart that you said it was a regular
You hear
Shiner.
that? What is that? I hear it's a phone call. And you know what? A regular Shiner. This guy loves Shiner Bock. You can't ever refer to Shiner as regular.
It hurt my fat little chubby heart.
His heart's very chubby.
But thank you. So I got a Miller Lite number 46. I'm almost halfway there.
I don't hate Miller Lite. I don't hate Miller Lite. When I'm in Milwaukee, I drink it. Milwaukee. Hello?
I fucking hate spam calls.
Oh,
Is that
geez.
they're trying
It
to sell
was
you your own mail or
Whatever 505 services group thing is what it was. 505 is New Mexico,
what?
right?
Somebody
Correct.
calling you from Bangladesh?
Yeah, they're trying to take me back to whatever my home country is.
So your social security number has been compromised. Oh, really?
Please send it to us.
Tell me more. Tell me more. You ever mess with them?
Oh, I have. Oh, a
me
bunch
too.
of times.
It's fun. I'll
yeah.
spend an hour. If I have an hour to kill, I'll mess with them for an hour.
Really?
Yeah, well, like 30 minutes, but I'm bad. Because I used to be a telemarketer for years, you know?
Really?
Yeah, so I'll be like, well, tell me more. I'm very intrigued. And it's like, it keeps me entertained. Like,
I was
I'm very bored.
telling Destiny, I think it was last week or the week after or before, where I was going to mess with the people that come knocking on our doors
Oh, boy. Them types?
and just be like, tell me more.
Oh, no. Oh, no, you did not.
I want to. The next time it happens, it will happen. I'll have a
Problem
camera
is
up.
they're going to come back, though.
Hey,
They're going to come back
well, I mean, then eventually I become a jerk. And it's just, yeah.
because they become really annoying.
I learned a long time ago. You answer the door naked, very few people will come.
Hey, I'll come back and visit you again.
I'm
Let's
sure
say,
you
but
will.
the one that stays has to be really worried about.
Yeah. I can't get rid of the Iceman. It's so funny. I mean,
I wish I knew who this was on Twitch, but the comment is from OG Butt Stuff says, "You can knock on my door, big man."
oh boy.
I think you just
See?
answered your own question
They
with
love
that
you.
username
They
there.
love you,
Yeah.
big man.
You
You're
gotta
talking to you. You're the one talking about it.
Another
Hey man, I'm
burgeoning
just
career.
I'm going off of the comment here, you know. I'm just piggybacking off that comment. That's
Okay, so again, we're over here at Union Draft House, 12040 Tiera, Este in the Far East side of El Paso. We got the bottomless wings from noon to 6 p.m. Bone in only, $15.99. Of course, we're going to have the two playoff games today: the Texans versus the Browns. The Texans hosting the Browns at 2:30. Then, of course, the Chiefs and the Dolphins in Brandon's Nightmare Frozen game at 6 o'clock as well. We got the $4 ciders and sours, $4 seltzers, and of course $4 Hornitos. Those seltzers have to be in the can though. So there we
You drink
go.
them in the restroom? No, I'm just kidding. You said in the can. I'm just saying I couldn't help it, man. You led me into that.
You're also
OG Butt Stuff, you were ahead of your time.
Yeah, 100%. You have now I know who OG Buster. How'd you type all that at the same
Well,
time?
it was very clever, and you didn't bitch at me for using my phone for a change during the show. What are you doing?
It bothers me.
I know
it
does.
really
I know
does.
it does.
Almost as much as getting a phone call from a telemarketer in the middle of a show. You motherfucker, get a real job. All right, so wow, that was mean.
Bone in, they said. That's funny.
Of course it is. Bone in. That's what I'm saying.
I know you love the bone.
Jesus Christ.
It's not a wing if you don't have it.
He's right. He's right.
I'm okay with.
No, I eat boneless wings too, but
Yeah.
I mean, bone in is definitely it's more flavorful.
Yes. Okay.
No doubt.
So the other game that we have, right, the one that's going to be covered in snow as well. We haven't
Buffalo.
talked about this one yet. Buffalo versus the Pittsburgh Steelers. Buffalo actually willing to pay fans $20 an hour and a free seat in the stadium. I wonder if there's an asterisk being like it's going to be as far up as possible for paying you to be there.
Yeah.
To shovel the snow
Shoveling
in
snow's
the
tough.
stadium.
Yeah.
It feels to me like $20 an hour ain't enough, and it
No.
feels like a free seat ain't enough.
I've shoveled
Especially
snow.
when it's going to be
not-
3 feet of snow.
No, yeah, that's
in that
a lot
freezing
of
area.
snow, man.
Yes. So, looking at that game now, Pittsburgh runs the ball really well with Najee Harris, with the other running backs that they have there on the team as well. But then you look at Buffalo. This has been one of those Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde type teams where you wonder what the hell they're actually going to be. Are they going to be the team that puts up 60 points a game, or are they going to be the team that cannot move the ball in the end zone? What version of Josh Allen are we going to get from this game? So, Brandon, I'm going to ask you, what are you expecting to see out of this game with Buffalo as they're hosting the Pittsburgh Steelers? Pittsburgh making it to the playoffs. I think everyone had them written off at the beginning of the season.
Yeah.
So that's a great job of Mike Tomlin and them boys. But now we're in the playoffs. Buffalo hosting them. Who you got?
Yeah, clearly I'm going to go with Buffalo. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
Pittsburgh playing with house money, but Pittsburgh's been they've won some good games this year. So is it going to be a close game? Yes, potentially it could be a close game. But here's the thing: Buffalo, obviously, one they have going for them right now at this particular juncture is that they're at home. They're one of the hottest teams in the NFL. They're right now, they honestly are looking at like we have nothing to lose. They weren't even supposed to get in. Then they win the division, right? Because of what transpired last week in Miami. Buffalo, watch out for them. They're definitely the other threat to Baltimore other than Cleveland. I love Baltimore. I love Buffalo, rather, in this game. They're going to win it, though, hands down.
So you don't think it's going to be close. So it's a 9.5 point spread. I don't think it's going to be 9.5
Don't
points.
either. I think it will be close, but I love him to win. I could see him winning by a touchdown by like 7.
Okay, so there we go. Brandon's got him winning by a touchdown by like 7. So we'll see what happens there. If you're going with the spreads, if you're going with the bets, Vegas is a place to go to with that stuff. Although I've been using Bovada.lv a couple of units last week. I want to let you know. Brandon wasn't here for it. Andrew, you got to see it. We did the tip. We did the tip picks, and guess what? We're going to try to get done right now as I'm waiting for this thing to buffer. That's the only reason why I am filibustering here on what is going to happen, because I'm hoping that this thing does what it needs to do and isn't too damn loud. Still waiting. Well, we'll see when the music plays.
It'll be a surprise.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be a surprise for all of us. I'm not getting into the picks until I get the music.
Fair
I
enough.
feel like that's a staple. Like, it just has to be that way.
Gotta have some principles.
Yes. Very few as far as I'm concerned. All right, Andrew, so who do you think is going to... This fucking thing. Get right this. This is the laggy internet. I got to get that checked out. It's not fun for you guys. All right, so here we go. It is time for the tip picks of the week. Tip 6 of the week. 6 total games that we've got over here, Brandon. We have the Texans and the Browns today. The Texans are a 2-point favorite or actually a 2-point dog at home against the Cleveland Browns. Brandon, who you got in that game?
I'm all over Cleveland. Like I said, they're one of my teams in the AFC. The fact that they, beat them a few weeks ago shows they can go into Houston. They're not afraid. Skinny Joe goes 5-1 as their starting quarterback.
So there we go. I'm also going with the Cleveland Browns as well. I feel like they're going to I feel like this game could be close, but that 2-point spread, I feel like Cleveland's going to be able to cover that easily. Andrew, who you got?
Yep, I'll go Browns as well. I can't trust the Texans. It's an old thing.
It's just an old thing for you. You're just like, no Texans at all.
No, I don't like the Texans.
Okay, then we got the Chiefs and the Dolphins. That game going to be in Kansas City, a 4.5-point spread in favor of the Chiefs. Brandon, who you got in this game?
I mean, it's playoff time, man. It's Mahomes' time. Plays great in crappy weather. They're in their element. Miami isn't. I'm all over KC winning, advancing, going on to the divisional round.
I want them to win, but I wonder how hungry the Dolphins are to be, getting over what they were in recent years.
Yeah, good point.
I mean, that's a great point too, right? Like you got a team that hasn't won a playoff game since the year 2000. Think about that.
That's
There
a
have been
long
people that have been born and graduated college within the time that the Miami Dolphins haven't won a playoff game. I, though, am going to go with the Kansas City Chiefs. I don't think they cover that spread. I don't think it's going to be a very high-scoring game here.
Agreed.
I think the Dolphins will cover that spread there, so if you're going to put a unit on the Dolphins, you might want to put it on them right there. If you're looking for any type of upset, that I think would be the upset that you got working for you right there. Then, of course, we're going to move over to a little bit of action going in the NFC as well, Brandon. We have the Philadelphia Eagles on the road as a favorite against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. How Philadelphia is a favorite to me is beyond any of my comprehension. They're a 3-point favorite here against Tampa Bay. Who you got in that game?
I think Tampa wins. I mean, I think Tampa wins because they quite simply have been playing better football than Philadelphia, and momentum means everything, especially late in the season. And, you just don't usually have a lot of success losing like 5 of 6 and not being able to really beat anybody the last several weeks and losing to bad teams too. So I got, all over Tampa. What?
Home field advantage
You
is
just
real.
really petered out right there.
Well, it's because you pointed at our buddies.
Yeah, so
He
like
wants me to-
for
he
him,
wants me to shut
it's,
up.
no, it's nonverbal cues whenever you're done for him to go.
Smart.
Never ended. Anyway. I mean, the home field advantage is very real, but I do feel like there's a better narrative and a lot more like some momentum kind of behind the Eagles at this point here. I mean, I don't know. There's just, I got the Eagles in this one. I just got a good feeling about it.
It feels like they're due.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it feels like you can't lose 5 of 6. This is a team that, once again, we got to look at was a
Wait,
Super
is Taylor
Bowl.
Swift going to be there?
I hope so. If she's there, they're going to win, right? It's funny.
Wrong,
Wrong,
Kelsey.
Swift. Well, the other kid, Swift, the running back. will be
DeAndre
there.
Swift will be there. So, I mean,
Close enough.
Okay, so I look at this game, right? And I look at Philadelphia, and I think that they're due for one. And then I look at Tampa Bay, and like you said, Brandon, they're playing great right now. But the one thing that concerns me with them is you got Baker Mayfield playing on 2 sprained ankles. He also has a jammed shoulder and bruised ribs. How much is he going to be able to give you in that defensive line that Philadelphia has? And I know it's a huge caveat with this, if they can get pressure on Baker Mayfield, I feel like Philadelphia can get the win here. I'm going to go with Philadelphia here as much as I don't want to because it hurts me as a Cowboys fan to say that the Eagles will win a game.
Fair enough.
But I think that the Eagles will win that game right there. Then, of course, staying in the NFC, the Dallas Cowboys, a 7-point favorite at home against the Green Bay Packers. The Green Bay Packers coming in with that great running game. Jordan Love living up to more than the expectations I think anyone had for him, surpassing the expectations that anyone had for him. Andrew, I'm going to start with you as our Packers fan. Who do you got in this game?
Can I go for a tie? Do the tip pick?
No ties in the playoffs.
No ties in the playoffs. I'll put it this way. Even if the Packers manage to pull this one out, I see them not having much in the tank for the rest of this whole series. I'll put it that way for you.
All right, so it seems like he's
who
going
he
with the
likes,
Packers.
yeah.
He's going with the Packers. Brandon, who you got?
I have to choose the Cowboys just because of the fact that they played so well at home this year. Dak has been exceptional. They just have to do a few things, obviously, to really show me that they're going to be a contender. If they can win this game convincingly, then I'd say, yeah, they're as good as anybody. But, I mean, the point is that we know how they floundered in the playoffs, but I still think that the Cowboys get it done against a hot Packers team.
David, who you got? You got something you want to say?
Cowboys, and it'll count on a rep making a controversial call with his fog glasses.
No. Wow. Dave already saying the refs are in the Cowboys' corner. I don't like that pick, Dave. That's a bad pick. It hurts my heart. But I, too, am going to go with the Dallas Cowboys as well. There's a part of me that home cooking for Dallas, right? They're 8-0 at home this year. Their offense puts up exponentially more points at home. I don't think that Green Bay's offense can keep up with the Dallas Cowboys' offense as it becomes a shootout. Then I look defensively, and I feel like defensively the Packers cannot match up with the Dallas Cowboys. The run defense for the Cowboys does concern me a little bit, but I think the Dallas Cowboys will not only just cover the 7-point spread, I don't think this game is going to be close. And that's not me being a Cowboys fan.
Right.
That's me trying to look at it from all the different angles as well. Then, of course, we got Buffalo host the Pittsburgh Steelers as well. Buffalo, a 9.5-point favorite at home in what looks like it's going to be terrible weather. If anybody's putting money on that game, on Buffalo to cover that spread, I think you're drunk. Brandon, who you got in that game?
Yeah, I mean, Buffalo definitely is going to win the game. I mean, I think that they're the better team. I think that they've become one of the premier contenders in the AFC, especially the last month of the season. But, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it was maybe a 6-point game, a 4-point game. But, yeah, I like Buffalo to take care of business.
I think Buffalo's going to take care of business as well. I don't think they cover the 9.5 points. That's a lot in all that type of weather. I know this is a very potent offense, but I just don't see it happening. I think it's going to be a run game in both games. Both teams are very stout run teams, so I don't think we're going to have a huge gap in things here. The one thing I'm going to be interested in, field goal kicking.
Yeah.
If we miss some field goals, there's a touchdown, I'm going to be a little worried about this stuff.
Yeah.
Dave, who you got in this game?
Which game is that now?
We're talking about Buffalo and Pittsburgh.
Buffalo and Pittsburgh. Tough one. I think I'm going to take Pittsburgh.
We're going to take Pittsburgh in that. Wow.
Why? I wonder why.
Well, it's the Pennsylvania ties. There we go.
That's correct.
It's
That's
the
right.
Pennsylvania
But
ties.
they could pull it off. I mean, hey, it's the playoffs. Anything goes, right?
All right, and the final game of the weekend, the Rams on the road against the Detroit Lions. Once again, just sacrilegious to say that Detroit's hosting the playoff game. A lot of storylines here. I love the storylines in this game. We didn't even really get to talk too much about it. But we have the Rams going in there with Matthew Stafford, who built a legacy in Detroit. Jared Goff, the quarterback for Detroit, who was traded for Matthew Stafford. Stafford already won his Super Bowl. There's a bunch of storylines here. Who do you got in this game, Brandon? It's a 4.5-point spread in favor of the Detroit Lions.
Yeah, it's going to be a good game, but I think the Rams win. I do. I don't know. I have a feeling that the Rams are just going to go in there and be that upset. And I hate to say it, it seems like not all the home teams are going to win. It usually works out where one road team wins, and I think the Rams are good, playing sneaky well, still a well-coached team, still a lot of weapons. Williams, Kupp. You got that I always mispronounce Puka Nacua kid. Stafford's been playing phenomenal last month. Defensively they've been playing better. I think the Rams put a spoiler on the Lions. I got the Rams.
All right, Dave, who you got in this game? Rams and the Lions. I feel like the Lions are due.
They are.
They are. There we go, Dave. I love it. They are. Andrew, I'm going to ask you a question on this one too. I know it's a household torn. That's the only reason why I got him. Is I got great timing too. He puts a piece of pizza in his mouth.
I love it. It's my buddy. I'd be doing the same thing. I'd have it in my pocket for later. That's just me. But what's that?
Who do we have in this game, Andrew? I feel like this is an important decision to make here. Between the Rams or a 4.5-point underdog in Detroit, who you got in this game?
I think I'm contractually obligated to say Detroit.
The Detroit
Smart.
Lions.
Aren't you
for him.
clever? He's smart, that guy. That's why we like him.
I want Detroit to win. I really do. I think that they like everything about him. I love Dan Campbell. I love seeing a team that hasn't won win, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is the poster child for just a shit team. Is the Detroit Lions. But I cannot, in good faith, put any stock in them. We've seen the Rams with Matthew Stafford win a Super Bowl not too damn long ago.
Yeah.
We've seen this team be good, and they feel like they're on fire right now, getting over all the injuries that they've had over recent times. This is one of the weird ones for me. I agree with you, Brandon. I think that's going to be the upset. I also agree that Tampa Bay is going to be the upset, so I'm going with the Rams here on that one. So there you go. Those are your tips 6 of the week. I've got the Cowboys covering the spread. I've got the Bills not covering the spread, so put your money on the Steelers to cover it there. Then I've got the Dolphins not covering the spread in Kansas City, a 4.5-point spread there. I'm putting my money on the Dolphins. I've got the Browns covering as well in Houston on the road. Tampa Bay winning that game outright as well. And then, of course, the Buffalo Bills not being able to cover the spread against the Pittsburgh Steelers. There are your tip 6 of the week. Good luck, y'all. Now, Brandon, the last thing I want to get on here before we get on out, your thoughts on the retirements of Bill Belichick, or I guess not retirement of Bill Belichick, but Bill Belichick now leaving.
The moving on of.
That sounds like he died, though. When he's moved on. Bill Belichick leaving the Patriots. It was a great back and forth that he and Robert Kraft had at that press conference, the longest press conference they had. He even cracked a joke and said he hadn't seen that many cameras since they signed Tebow. What do you feel about moving on from Bill Belichick if you are the Patriots?
Well, it was time. It was time. All good things come to an end, and that was just a situation where the fire has gone out, and never forget what they've done for each other. But somebody else, I think, is going to pick him up. I do. I think he'll keep coaching.
Where?
Oh, that's tough. I mean, maybe L.A., maybe Vegas. I mean, there's a lot of openings, but
And by LA, you mean the Chargers?
yeah, San Diego.
Super
Somebody's
Chargers.
going to pick him up. He may take a year off. I don't know. We'll see. Or maybe he keeps going because he doesn't want to end it now. But I feel that he's still good enough to be a great coach somewhere else. And I feel that he's not done yet. So, it's one of those things where it's kind of sad for him. But ultimately, you know what? What he's done is incredible. Best coach in NFL history.
And that's where I was going to come to you with this question now, right? Like, I agree. I think he's going to go. I don't think he's going to go to the Chargers. I think he's going to go to Washington.
Possibly.
And he'll more than likely get all the GM, responsibilities and stuff like that with Washington. They got a great quarterback in Sam Howell.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that the Commanders should draft a quarterback in Drake May. I think that they should just stick with Sam Howell because he is the goods. Address the offensive line, address the defensive line in the draft, and they've got the most money in cap space as well with $89 million in free cap. That looks like that would be the best place for Belichick to go. I don't want to see, as a Cowboys fan, I don't want to see him in the same division. So I'm hoping he goes literally anywhere else.
Yeah.
But then we look at the other person that left, Nick Saban. It's crazy to think that these two were on a coaching staff together where Belichick was the head coach of the Cleveland Browns and Nick Saban was one of his coordinators.
Mm-hmm.
They both leave basically on the same day.
Mm-hmm.
And both can be considered the greatest coach of all time in their perspective, and one in the pros, one in college.
Sure.
Which one leaves the best legacy behind?
That's a great question. I'm going to say Belichick just because, to me, you could argue it's harder to win in the NFL just because of the fact that, number one, they're getting paid, even though college athletes get paid too. But I mean, the main fact is that it's with free agency, with the way the game's changed, with the fact that it's very hard to win one Super Bowl, much or less 7. I mean, that's impossible. That is impossible. Yeah. And granted, he did have the most amazing quarterback of all time, but it's also the assistants he had around him. It's the way he drafted. It's the way he replaced talent he lost. It's the fact that he always made the best move at the best time. He wasn't a bad gambler. He wasn't a McCarthy. It just seemed like he always got it right. I mean, and how often do you see that nowadays? So I'm going to say by a nose, because what Saban did was amazing in Alabama. I'm going to say by a nose is Belichick.
I don't think that it's even close, and I'm going to say it's Saban. And traditionally, you and I don't agree on anything, so here it is, right? The reason why is because you look at what bolstered, and the one thing that Saban doesn't get that Belichick had, right? the consistency.
Yeah.
He had Tom Brady for 21 years. That's an insane thing to think about, man. You had the greatest quarterback of all time. Nobody could have seen that. And he has him with the New England Patriots. You look at the quarterbacks that Nick Saban won championships with. Again, 7 championships as well. We can't forget the one at LSU. He won a championship at LSU, won 6 in Alabama. You got guys like Mac Jones in there. And you can't even think of who the other damn quarterbacks are. You got Jalen Hurts, Tua, a couple of those, A.J. McCarron, of all the people, right? And you look at the fact that it was a constantly different revolving door of talent coming into Alabama. Yes, they were able to recruit better than everyone else because they were paying players and all that other stuff. We say the quiet part out loud.
No, it's true.
If you didn't know that players were getting paid in college,
You're a moron.
100%.
You're a moron.
So to me, it's like if you have that revolving door of talent, you never really get to have the consistency, right? Then you talked about it as well. Belichick able to have a consistent flow of his own assistant coaches at all times. McDaniel left what 9 or not McDaniel?
You're talking about the defensive coach, the one that went to the Lions?
No, the one that was in Vegas, the head coach there.
Shoot, McDaniel, wasn't it?
Was it McDaniel?
McDaniel, I thought.
Okay, whatever it is, whoever the hell he is. But he went to New England 3 or 4 different times, right? You had all these different coordinators there. Look at how many head coaches out of that tree from Belichick became great head coaches, and it's not any.
And
it's a 0.
Let's not forget.
Then you look at Saban's list of coaches that came out of his tree.
Sure.
Where you have a Kirby Smart, where you have a Debo or not Debo Samuel, but Dabo Swinney and all these people that have a connection to Alabama from Nick Saban. And you look at the greatness that he left behind. That's why I think Nick Saban is the better coach, because of the tree that he has won championships.
But you also need to not forget that Belichick won defense Super Bowls with the Giants. I mean, before going and he was pretty decent with Cleveland for a minute there. I'm just saying, if you want to look at overall career, look, to me, it's you could argue both sides of the coin, but I get where you're going from, but I'm also looking at Belichick, what he did before he was with New England as well. So
I'm going to be interested to see what Bill Belichick does. And, happy trails to Nick Saban. I don't think this is the end of the road for Nick Saban.
Oh, no.
I think he's going to go somewhere.
He'll be out for a year, then he'll come back somewhere. He's going to relax for a year, and he deserves it too.
But everybody, thank you so much for tuning into the show today. We are Fire and Ice. We are over here at Union House 12040 Tiera, Este in the east side of El Paso. They've got bottomless wings from 12 to 6 p.m., bone-in only, for $15.99. They're going to have both the playoff games today, the Texans and the Browns, the Dolphins on the road against the Chiefs. They have the $4 ciders and sours, $4 seltzers in the can, and, of course, the $4 Hornitos. I'm going to have Brandon take a shot of tequila with me right now in just a little bit, because I've never seen Brandon take a shot of tequila, so I want to see what happens here whenever we go with all that. Everybody, thank you so much for tuning in, and we will see you all next week. I'm going to get Brandon drunk.